There was one last thing. There's one last thing that I wanted to cover, that I wanted to highlight, and that is Lance Reddick. This show features one of the last performances by Lance Reddick. He is the voice of Thordak, the main villain of this season, of the last season, the head of the Crowbar Conclave. We learned a little bit more about him in season 3 of Vox Machina. And much like in the second season, he's great here. I like that he's just so protective over his little babies, his little dragon eggs, because he just wants to create his dragon army, and he wants his children to inherit a world where his domain is the world itself. It's great. And, his cloaca is throbbing from all that egg pushing. But I just want to say I thought Lance Reddick did a fantastic job, at least in the episodes that I've seen so far. He was an amazing actor, voice actor. In film, in television, in animation. He's done so much great work and should be celebrated. And I really enjoyed him in this show. I thought he's been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, highly recommend. Legend of Vox Machina. Great. I'm saying it wrong? Thordak, the cloaca? That's what it is. That's what's coming out. They're coming out his cloaca. That's what he has. He's putting those eggs are coming from somewhere. Cloaca. That's what I said. Cloaca. How do you say it? Cloaca? It's cloaca. Tomato, cloaca, cloaca. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in my book. So, let's move on to my review for The Legend of Vox Machina Season 3. So, I've not seen the full third season. I've seen, at this point, 6 episodes. I just finished the 6th episode today. I think I'll do another review at some point once I've seen the back half of this season. But I figure, I can at least share my impressions. So, like I've done in the past, I've been covering The Legend of Vox Machina for the last couple of years now. I guess starting all the way back in 2022 as when the series premiered. And for those that don't know, it's the animated adaptation of the web series Critical Role. More specifically, the first campaign, which is set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons and the Forgotten Realms. It features many of the Critical Role players themselves, well-known voice actors such as, Laura Bailey, Ashley Johnson, Liam O'Brien, Sam Riegel, Travis Willingham, and, many others. All of them just reprising their roles from the original campaign from Critical Role. Now, I'm certainly a newcomer when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons and the tabletop, RPG space, tabletop role-playing games. But having played, several sessions that proved to be really fun, I've come to enjoy Dungeons and Dragons and respect it. Plus, already just being a big fan of fantasy and dark fantasy in particular, enjoying movies like Conan the Barbarian and, the Lord of the Rings, the Dark Crystal, stuff like that, along with a number of other, fantasy films in between. I was pretty interested in Vox Machina, though having little familiarity with Critical Role. But I think that's what's great about Vox Machina and Critical Role by extension. In recent Dungeons and Dragons, adaptations, like with films like Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves and video games like Baldur's Gate 3, they act as perfect gateways into D&D itself. And Vox Machina can still just be enjoyed as a fun, well-written romp, fantasy animated show, which has consistently been doing so for the past 2 seasons, in my opinion. But, what about this season? This third season, which, as of this recording, as I said, I'm 6 episodes deep into. Well, I think this season, at least so far, continues to prove that Vox Machina is one of the most entertaining and one of the most fun animated shows being produced today, which is saying something because we've had some absolutely stellar animated fare these last couple of years, with shows like, just name a few, Blue Eye Samurai, X-Men 97, My Adventures with Superman, just to name a few off the top of my head, but there's plenty of other ones too. This season picks up immediately after the events of season 2, where Vox Machina are confronted by the poison spewing, the fart dragon. I think she's a fart dragon, Rashawn. Voiced by Cree Summers, who is a fantastic voice actress, who wants to help them stop the Chroma Conclave and Thordak. We learned that Thordak has been busy pushing out babies out of his cloaca, Chad. His cloaca must be throbbing because he seems to have dozens, if not hundreds, of eggs. And he wants to use his army of children to blanket the world in fire and make all of the world his domain. You know, Vox Machina then has to continue their quest for these magical vestments of power, and various mishaps and hijinks ensue. So, like past seasons, Season 3 continues to feature fantastic animation and action sequences, you know, and I think it looks better than ever. Looks better than ever in Season 3. The action sequences across the board feature a ton of stuff going on, but it never gets too overwhelming or even difficult to discern what's going on in the scene. We're going to a ton of different places this season, more than we ever did in the second season, which featured more environments than Season 1. You know, we're going to this fire and lava covered environments, the nesting grounds of the Chroma Conclave, the rejuvenated city of Whitestone, a Middle Eastern and Arabic influenced metropolis, a dragonborn commune that rests on like floating icebergs and snow-covered mountains, and even the flesh-covered and wailing pits of hell itself. The animation in this show is simply fantastic. It's better than ever. You can tell they have even more money each season. Season 2, they got more money. This season, they clearly got more money, and it looks great. It's all on display. And like in Season 2, each character that is a part of Vox Machina has something to do, along with a number of their other allies that join them on their adventures. Like going back to the first season. You know, so much of it. I really enjoyed the first season. I thought it was great. Again, I think it's a wonderful introduction to, you know, fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, wonderful gateway. But so much of that season focused on the character of Percy DeRolls, and so much of the plot, the villains tied into him, his past, and all the crazy shit that he was going through. Season 2 really opened it up for the rest of the cast. We got to know more about Vex and Vax and their family, their issues with their father. We got to learn more about Grog, you know, who was, you know, I think originally displayed as a wholesome, slow, some would say stupid character. But we got to learn more about his past and what he dealt with and the horrible things that he did and had to come to terms with. And then also with little Scanlan, who is very much a comic relief character. And was always, you know, telling dirty jokes and, you know, singing dirty songs and things. You know, we came to learn that he had a daughter, that he did have a family, and, you know, that family is certainly strained. This season continues that on in great fashion, in my opinion. Based on the fact that the relationships are just becoming infinitely more complicated because everyone is smooching and stooping each other now. And that in itself, listen, when you start smooching and stooping, all these characters, you know, all these friends, people, it's gonna get weird. It's gonna get even more complicated over time. And that's exactly what happens. And that's on full display with the characters of Vex and Percy, and they've always hinted. Now, Vex, who is the one of the twins of Vex and Vax, she's this half elf ranger. And you also have Percy, who's the character I just mentioned. And they've always kind of been flirtatious back and forth. They've had that chemistry. It was like, well, that chemistry has led to Stuppen. And they're dealing with that in their own way. Sometimes healthy ways, initially some unhealthy ways, but I really like that. It shows the growth in these characters, the fears that they have as the relationships get more complicated, because they're going off on these epic quests. They're trying to not only, save the people they love, but also save the world. And once you start being romantically entangled with people as you're going out, off in this adventure, you're afraid to lose them. So you're thinking like, well, I can't have these relationships because I can't have that on my mind constantly because it would destroy me. But these characters feel that way about each other because they've gone through so much over the course of these, at this point, 2.5 seasons. And, that's what makes it fun and exciting and sexy. Very, very sexy. And again, you have a lot, like the animation's great, and you have a lot, all I'll say is, Shay, you got a lot of man meat on display. You got a lot of thick buns on display. You got a lot of booba. You got curves for days and thickness for days, and I'm all about it. And I like it when these characters are getting nasty with each other, especially when it comes to Percy and Vex and all their little interactions and very sexual interactions so far this season, I think have been very fun. But at the same time, you outside of the sex and the stupping and the kissing and the hand holding, you have some other characters that are dealing with various other issues that maybe are everyone's like having romance issues this season. But then you have, like, for example, Pike Trickfoot, voiced by Ashley Johnson. She's this gnome cleric in the series. And, she's dealing with a crisis of faith while also being in the pits of hell itself, which is kind of like a contradiction, the fact that she's even there to begin with, since her god, her religion doesn't even recognize this place. They have no power there. And, she has to come to terms with how she truly feels about her faith, and has actually a fantastic interaction with a demonic character there that is questioning her, that's making her question her own faith and her own God. It was an episode where very little. Certainly great actions in it in the first part, but so much of that episode in particular was just people having conversations, having a nice back and forth, a tit for tat, if you will, and I really enjoyed that aspect. Then you also have Vax and Kiki, and their romance is even more complicated because they don't even know what the hell to do. At least Vex and at least Percy is like, we are two very sexy people. We are very attracted to each other. Let's fucking chat. They fuck, no doubt. Vax and Keyleth, they don't know what to do. They have so many problems going on inside their little brains. They feel uncomfortable as after just holding hands. After a few pecks on the cheek, they start saying like, I can't be in love with you. I can't deal with this. And that causes issues. Also, this is kind of cool because Keyleth, her character, she kind of comes across as being, very sensitive, very shy. There's a bit of a lack of confidence. Here, she's starting to display a lot more confidence. She's speaking her mind a lot more, and she's also getting kind of like pissed off everybody because they've always kind of dismissed her to a degree. And I like that she's getting angry now, and she has the confidence to speak her mind when she feels like the group is not working well, or they're fucking up, or if there's a character that they're being confronted with, she's like, no, I don't want to have to deal with this person because I don't trust them. I like that she's showing more confidence, more growth, even though she's certainly struggling when it comes to her romantic relationships with Vax. And then also you have Scanlan, who is a character initially I was unsure about in season 1. Who was, I always thought like, oh, he's just the comic relief character. He's just going to be telling dick jokes and nasty croissants and stuff. There's a lot more to him, and he's proven himself over time. He has the added complication of fathering a daughter that he knew nothing about, and the daughter hates him, and you kind of don't blame the daughter. Since Scanlan didn't really know much about the mother, wasn't a part of their lives at all, but he's making a concerted effort, at least in these first 6 episodes, what we see, of trying to have a sort of relationship with her. And I really like that. Of course, things go awry, things don't work out as you would want them to. But I like that these characters they're trying to be better people. That's what I've enjoyed so much about, I think, this series. Like, there's obvious evolution, there's obvious growth for everybody. And yeah, sometimes things don't go right, some things don't go well, but no one ever feels stagnant in this show. And I think that's a really good thing. And then, of course, you have, Grog. And maybe to a degree, maybe they're not doing as much with Grog this season as they did last season, but he's still such a fun kid. He had a lot of growth last season. He had a fantastic arc in season 2. And they're having fun with him here. Like, maybe he's taking a bit of a step back than the other people, but for the most part, it's fun. He has these wonderful little interactions. A lot of humorous stuff is working with him well. And that's, I guess, my next point I wanted to make. Like, all the character stuff so far this season is working for me. I like where the relationships are progressing, how, they get into conflict, and how, they're stupping each other. But the one thing that I would say that this season does better than any of the other seasons is its humor. I feel like with season 1 and season 2, there were some times where the humor would be funny and sometimes where I wouldn't find it funny. Again, humor is the most subjective of genres. What I may find funny, you may not find funny, and vice versa. And there were some things, some of the humor just didn't work for me in the previous two seasons. Here, I don't know. I think maybe because it doesn't feel like they're just trying to cram in a joke between every other interaction these characters have, and they kind of give a little more room to breathe. So when they do have a joke or when they do say something that's kind of off-the-cuff remark, it gets me. And there was just so many times, especially in the first 3 episodes, where I was like, wow, that was like really funny. Or like a weird character would pop up. This is a brief spoiler, but there's this this weirdo, I think in episode 2, the spice merchant, where it's just this guy who was like harassing Scallon at one point. He's like, "You like spice? You want spice?" And I was like, who is this guy? Even Scallon's getting creeped out by him. Like, stuff like that. It was like, that really worked for me. And they'll, someone will get hit on a certain location of their body, and they will say something that I just did not expect, and I just burst out laughing. I don't know. I just feel like how they're handling a lot of the humor this season is a lot better than how they handled it before. It doesn't feel like they're trying so hard with it. They're letting it breathe a little bit more in between jokes, and so when they do have a funny line, they do have a funny joke or a little bit, I don't know. It just worked for me. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. Again, humor super subjective, but I just think it's better so far this season. And there's also some surprises here. If you had watched the previous 2 seasons, which I encourage you to do so before season 3, because you're going to be, I'll tell you what right now. If you go into season 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina blind, having not seen the previous 2 seasons, you're going to be fucking lost, all right? So you got to start with the first 2 seasons. You just need to. I mean, maybe you can watch a recap, but I feel like you're going to be missing out a lot. I think it's essential viewing. But there are some characters from the past that return, and interesting things are happening with them. And there's one character I feel like I can speak on, which is not too much of a spoiler, but the character of Ripley, who I thought was Ridley at first, but her name is Ripley, who was one of the people that betrayed Percy and his family all the way back in season 1. She returns here, and she has a friend along for the ride that I did not expect, and I thought that was so cool. It's just it's another fly in the ointment, if you will. And it sets up something that I feel like, could be a really interesting conflict outside of the main quest line that we're going. Because that's the other thing. I feel like there's still stuff they have in the background. There's still old stuff that can, come into the foreground at some point. And they just introduce something like, that's an interesting thing. I'd actually discussed it in my audio-video commentaries, which I've done audio commentaries for the first 6 episodes so far, season 3, and, of course, the previous 2 seasons as well. Highly recommend people checking out those. But, her inclusion, along with who joins her, I thought was really cool, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to be doing with them, whether it be in this season or in future seasons of the show. I think it's great. But yeah, overall, I just think the 3rd season, Legend of Vox Machina, it's been great so far. I don't really have any complaints right now. Now, to be fair, I did not watch the original Critical Role campaigns, and the one consistent thing that's been brought up to me that apparently they're truncating certain storylines because these are these are adaptations of campaigns that went on for dozens, if not hundreds of hours, right? It's a lot of content, and they just can't put all that into 12 episodes of a season, right? And so they're going to have to take some stuff out. They're going to have to remove certain things, remove certain characters, combine stuff, I'm sure. And I perhaps, longtime Critical Role viewers, listeners, that might bother them. And I can understand that. But at the same time, you kind of got to go like, well, I mean, they can only do so much. Otherwise, this show would go on for like 20 or so seasons. I can't speak to that really, but I have heard that. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's fair. That just wasn't my experience. And so for what I'm getting right now, I feel like the story is well paced, and I'm really liking what they're doing with all the characters, and it just looks great. I love the environments that we're going to. They're very diverse. Everyone feels like they're getting something to do. And it's just a really fun show. We're in a wonderful age of adult animation. And Legend of Vox Machina is very, very adult. So if you like to indulge in that kind of content as much as I do, then I highly recommend the third season, at least the first 6 episodes so far. I'd be shocked if like the next 6 are just like they lost it. It's like terrible. But yeah, if you really enjoyed the first 2 seasons, season 3 I think is a fantastic follow up. And if you have not seen this series, I recommend it. Even if you're like, I'm not interested in D&D, don't worry. You don't need to get into this show. It's just a really fun fantasy show, dark fantasy show, high fantasy show. It incorporates all sorts of different things. It's a fun time. So I really recommend it so far. Yes. Check out The Legend of Vox Machina season 3. What about you guys? Have any of you seen The Legend of Vox Machina season 3? Have you caught up on any of these episodes? What'd you think of the third season so far? What'd you think of the past seasons? Are you a Critical Role fan? Are you not a Critical Role fan? Do you not have any idea what Vox Machina is? Let me know.
5 minutes later.
What about you guys? What do you think of Vox Machina so far? I know a number of you are big Critical Role fans and Vox Machina fans. So let me go ahead and see. Open DM in a game of D&D for you. I know. One day, Deadpool. One day. I have had a number of D&D experiences recently, like within the past couple of years that have been, as I said in my review, I highlighted in my review, that were like very, very fun. I've enjoyed it. I get it now. I get it. You guys gotta get with a good group, But you're right. Just fuck already. The rest of Vox Machina Percy. I know, and they find. Well, I don't want to say anything, but they fuck. I mean, we can say that. They do. I'm like, good. It was hot. It was really hot. Deadpool, I can't wait to see Chris's reaction to the hot spring scene during the video. Yes. Deadpool, Xerxes was a character who was introduced in one of the prequel spinoffs. Oh, okay. He was, the demon guy. He was a paladin who was arrogant enough to think he could redeem the devil and ended up becoming one of his minions. That didn't work out well for him. Although he does detail that in the episode itself. 4th episode, right? Yeah. Let's see. Look forward to the next 3. Me too. I can't wait. Yep. And because the next 3 are coming out Thursday. I think they're Thursday or Friday. So I'll be all caught up. Let's see. I'm glad Pike getting focused this season. Out of the past 2, she got the least. Yeah. She's getting a good amount of focus here. My only complaint's the same as before. CGI is still janky. Okay, so there is definitely a difference between the classic 2D animation and the 3D animation. Like, they use the 3D a lot on the dragons and some other creatures, but it's mostly the dragons. But I did notice this season that it looks better. It does look better. I think they're not as like choppy and janky. It's a little more smoother, and it looks like they're more like rendered too. There's more detail in their skin and scales and they're just cells. It definitely looked better. I mean, would I want them to be just like all 2D? 100%. I would, of course. But know what they were doing. I thought, like, you could tell they got more money to have the dragons like look better, because the dragons are featured more than ever now. I have some mixed feelings about what they changed. Realistically, the Chroma Conclave arc should be like 3 seasons, but they're condensing it down to 2 seasons. Plus, and everything trans over from D&D. Yeah. No, I know. I have heard that. Some people are saying, like, this arc could have been 3 seasons. But, again, I simply just don't know, because I didn't, go into this show having seen Critical. I've since gone back and, like, seen compilations and funny little bits and stuff and animated stuff, which has been really fun, really cool. I really enjoyed that. But I just can't speak on it. But, I understand. I get it. It's like if I was talking about comic book adaptation or book adaptation or so many other things, I totally get it. I think that's fair. Oh, let's see. If Andre does Vox Machina, then I'll watch it. I think Andre would like Vox Machina. I think he'd vibe with it. There's definitely some music in it. Oh, the music. And by the way, let me just say this. I forgot to mention. The intros, the anime. I mean, we of course have gotten some fantastic. There is a long, rich history of amazing animated intros to cartoons, to adult animation. Legend of Vox Machina is absolutely fantastic. That's what we'll end this on, Chad. That's what we'll end this on. We'll end it by to entice you a little bit. I'll show you guys the opening intro to The Legend of Vox Machina. See, they did a new intro. It's a new one. It's like a modified version, like they did a cover of the original theme song, but they have like new imagery to go along with. And the original one is fantastic as well. But that's what we'll end on.
A few moments later.
Yeah. Wonderful. Season 3. And it's great. Again, I that doesn't convince you, chat. I don't know what will. It's a wonderful show. It's really goddamn good. And again, although I don't think this makes it intimidating at all, even if you're not like a D&D person, if you just want to see a fun fantasy show, check it out. It's a good time. Who knows? You might want to try D&D afterwards. You might want to get into that. Get into the lore. There was one last thing. There's one last thing that I wanted to cover, that I wanted to highlight, and that is Lance Reddick. This show features one of the last performances by Lance Reddick. He is the voice of Thordak, the main villain of this season, of the last season, the head of the Crowbot Conclave. We learned a little bit more about him in season 3 of Vox Machina. And much like in the second season, he's great here. I like that he's just so protective over his little babies, his little dragon eggs, because he just wants to create his dragon army, and he wants his children to inherit a world where his domain is the world itself. It's great. And, his cloaca is throbbing from all that egg pushing. But I just want to say I thought Lance Reddick did a fantastic job, at least in the episodes that I've seen so far. He was an amazing actor, voice actor. In film, in television, in animation. He's done so much great work and should be celebrated. And I really enjoyed him in this show. I thought he's been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, highly recommend. Legend of Vox Machina. Great. So good. I'm saying it wrong? Thordak, the cloaca? That's what it is. That's what's coming out. Come on, his cloaca. That's what he has. He's putting those eggs are coming from somewhere. Cloaca. That's what I said. Cloaca. How do you say it? Cloaca? It's cloaca. Tomato. Cloaca. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in my book.